Hey guys, thanks for checking out the video and reading the blog. I just wanted to elaborate a little bit on some of the things that we talked about in regards to using a lifting belt. So let me preface this by saying if you're having pain in the low back or difficulty with just day-to-day lifts like light weight on and off the floor or transfers like getting in and out of the bed or in and out of the car, you know, this doesn't totally apply to you, right? So the belt isn't really going to be used for those types of things. That's where you really want to develop some good isolated core strength and stability. You may need a very specific program for that. That's something that, you know, might want to come in and see someone like us for, or another healthcare provider that you're used to working with. But for the purposes of this discussion, we're talking more about the belt when it comes to like heavier lifting and weight training, resistance training. So the misconceptions out there, things that we hear a lot, are how like people are afraid to use the belt because they think it's more of like a crutch, right? So you put the belt on, you don't have to engage the core as much. You can artificially go up in weight even though you don't have that core strength to give you the support to do those types of weights and that type of training. But it's actually the opposite, right? So the idea behind the belt is it gives you more of like a tactile cue around the whole trunk area, not just the low back, even into the front. And that cue allows you to brace your core against it. So sometimes having a little extra resistance on the outside allows you to brace into that belt. And what actually happens is by bracing against that belt, you're increasing the pressure within your abdomen. And the way that protects you is the increased pressure in the abdomen needs to match the pressure in the disc as you're loading your spine. So if the pressure in the abdomen matches the pressure in the disc, then you've got this neutral gradient, right? So you're at a lower risk of herniating or bulging a disc, right? Where people get into injury is they're not bracing in the core and they put a heavy load on their back, right? Or they're deadlifting heavy amount of weight. And the pressure in the abdomen is a little bit lower than that pressure in the disc. So that gradient there between the two is what can cause a herniation or an injury. So it's not that the belt is necessarily giving you support back there. It's more of something to brace into with your core. So even though people think that you're not activating your core, that's not how the belt works. It's actually just a way where you can increase core activation. But sometimes having that around you helps out, whereas if you don't have that, it's harder to actually engage against. So the way that you want to set the belt up is you want to set it up in a way between kind of the top of your hips, iliac crest, and between the ribs, kind of in that soft area. The belts that work best are like a continuous thickness all the way around. The ones where they're really thick in the back and they dip off in the front, that kind of defeats the purpose in a way, right? Because you want a good chunk of belt in here where you're bracing with your abs against. If it dips off, then you really don't have anything to squeeze against. So you want to get it pretty tight. Take a breath in, suck in a little bit. That way, as you go to brace, so if you get that belt on nice and tight, take a breath in before you go into the movement, and you're bracing into that belt, maintaining that brace as you go into the lift. You're kind of pushing against it for the duration of the lift. That's what really locks down your core. So definitely worth looking into if you're going up in weight. You know, if you're getting into like body weight squats or above, you know, a little over body weight or body weight and a half or so, like deadlifting, or if you're just feeling like you're deadlifting and maybe you're a little more sore than what you think you should be, might be something to look into. Definitely want to make sure your form is good. So if you've cleared up your form or any form issues and you're still having some subtle problems, or you just don't feel like you're getting the stability that you need, belt is always something that would be kind of like the next step to look into. So if you have any questions or concerns or want me to elaborate a little further, definitely reach out to us. Be happy to chat with you about it. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in.